Without further ado, I will request the Chief Executive Officer of the Reach for Your Future Foundation, Davis, the HP's Regional Director, Ms. Sharon Kumar, Mr. Jason Trump. A warm good morning to one and all.
Prior to his appointment as a cabinet minister,
the Minister for Education, the Permanent Secretary for Education, various senior representatives of the Ministry of Education. Our guests, Randall Davis from Singapore, Kapil Chandra from HP in New Zealand, and Ms. Sharon Kumar from Intel in New Delhi. Welcome to Fiji. Of course, Ganesh Sen, who's part of Reach for Your Future Foundation. Ganesh, of course, has done other works in Fiji too. Recently, they completed a bridge, a pedestrian bridge in Waivaka, and only yesterday, Cabinet approved another collaboration with Reach for Your Future Foundation with the Australian Government and one of the Rotary clubs from UK in completing a pedestrian bridge in Korotari in Vanuatu. Ladies and gentlemen, firstly, my apologies for the delay. I'm not feeling too well. I had to sort of tumble out of bed this morning to be here. But I won't be very long. Essentially to say that this gathering of yours for the next couple of days is extremely significant. It is significant because, as you know, many of you know, those of you who've been in the Ministry of Education, there's been a lot of talk about one laptop per child, then one device per child. And I think originally the whole idea or thinking behind it was that you simply give a device or a laptop to a child and everything will be hunky-dory and up and running. But of course, obviously, as the experts will tell you from Intel, HP and Microsoft, that in order to have digital literacy, vis-a-vis the education curriculum, you need to be able to have a very sustained and definitive program regarding digital literacy. You simply can't just give somebody a laptop. You have to understand what is the content. You have to know what type of content. You have to know when the content is loaded, how will you actually be using that to be able to teach the curriculum. And also, of course, as you know, in this day and age, the ability to change the curriculum. But in order to ensure that you have digital literacy with a captured audience, you need to be able to expand that to other facets in a child's life. So whether it's to do with health, whether it's to do with various social issues, and you'll hear from them later on. For example, we're talking about things like diabetes, we're talking about sexual reproductivity, sex education. These are some of the ancillary matters, but nonetheless it's part of the mainstream education system now. And there are social issues that have huge implications, whether it's to do with teenage pregnancy, whether it's to do with STDs, whether it's to do with people getting diabetes at a very young age. These are very critical issues that forms part and parcel of everyday education now. So we are very glad that this collaboration between the Fijian government through the Ministry of Education and Reach for Future Foundation. I'd like to acknowledge Ganesh Sen for his input into this and his ability to connect all the right people as far as this project is concerned. So we are, I think, very, very blessed, for want of a better word, to have Intel, Microsoft, and HP with us. And they'll, of course, be taking you through the process. I think, we've seen many countries where, whilst the sort of digital literacy has been implemented with a big bang and everybody gets happy with the laptop and the device, but within a year or 2 years, the whole thing crumbles, and they'll give you numerous examples of that. And of course, as we've said continuously, we must ensure that every Fijian child has access to this. Otherwise, as they talk about the digital age being the great great technology that will bring people together, that will make everybody equal. In fact, it can be the reverse. In fact, it can be the reverse. So if you have 4G in Suva, Nosori, Lami, Lotoka, Nandi, and you have everybody with the right connectivity, but the people in Lao or Kandavu and various rural parts of Viti Levu and Vanuatu don't have access to that. In fact, there's a much wider gap that's created between the haves and the have-nots, those who are connected and those who are not connected, those who have accessibility and those who don't have accessibility. That will create a much bigger divide. So we have to be very careful about that. And government is very, very mindful of such a situation. This is why you see some fundamental changes with your Minister for Education, who's been now, for example, redirecting grants. So you have smaller schools, more isolated schools, getting bigger grants per child, as opposed to the bigger schools in the urban centers. And that is very critical to understand. And I think this is one of the reasons why we're very excited about this partnering with these three well-known companies, that they will be able to give us that guidance to be able to ensure that that technology, that accessibility is spread throughout Fiji. We are, for your information, carrying out a number of other initiatives vis-a-vis access to telecommunications, whether it's putting out more infrastructure to areas where you have what we call brownouts, or whether we have black spots, to ensure that everybody's covered and we have that accessibility to technology. On the other hand, ladies and gentlemen, I think it is very important for you also personally that you will really become the forefront, you'll be the front runners of this uptake of technology, because I would assume this has become more like a train-the-trainers type of program. So you'll be going out and training other people. It's very critical for you to understand what you're doing, and also to be able to impart that knowledge to others, because of course many teachers, as you know, they think that a computer is more to do with getting internet and doing Google, and whenever you do Google, whatever you get as Google is the correct information. Obviously, as we all know, that's not correct. There's more to a computer, there's more to internet accessibility, there's more to using a device than simply getting some answer from the cyberspace. It's how you use it, how you apply it, and how do you actually provide the feedback to the student, and how you yourself get the feedback. Of course, many countries now are able to hold exams, are able to run classes without actually much teacher interaction, or people being able to do their work at home and being able to send their homework via, the internet or email to the teacher even at the end of the night. So it also means that the teachers need to have a completely different mind frame change in respect of how they deal with students and how they're able to assess, and the speed at which you can get back that feedback. I think it is very, very important. I'd like to highlight one point, because, and I know it's probably completely unrelated to this particular subject. As government, we are extremely concerned about the level of abuse, sexual abuse of children at the moment in Fiji, and sexual assaults generally on women. As a matter of fact, domestic violence also happens with males too. But we are against domestic violence per se. It's not to do with one specific gender. It's also to do with children. And I think it is very important for all of you. You are all leaders in your respective departments or sections or regions, and you have to hammer home this point. We have actually at the moment in the criminal justice system a life sentence that can be given for rape or sexual assault. But the point is, even if you have life sentence, if the value systems don't change, then people will continue to perpetrate this crime. And we know that a lot of people are now coming forward and reporting this crime, because they feel confident with the legal system, because you have the domestic violence laws now in place. And so many of the cases that previously were unreported are now being reported. But nonetheless, that's still not an excuse. And I would urge all of you, because we have seen abuse of both girls and boys. It's not only girls; it's all girls and boys, and it's a phenomena that must be stopped. And the only way you can do this is that we are able to continuously hammer home the point that nobody has the right to sexually assault anybody, in particular a child, in particular when there's no consent given. And that is very critical, and we are very much concerned about that. And I urge all of you to talk about this openly. I was the other day in school, I think in the West, where, at the primary school level, I mentioned to one of the teachers, and they said, well, maybe it's a primary school, you shouldn't mention it, but there are other people who are around, and people need to understand that. It is very critical. I was at a workshop about a week ago where there was, some youth gathering, Domestic Violence Week, and I had some former high school students who were at the back, and they were asking me questions. We had an open sort of floor discussion, and they said, well, the attitude of the teachers are wrong because they were coming more from the people who are of different sexual orientation, saying, the people still get called puftas in school, and that one of the teachers, when they went for counseling, they said, oh, that guy's a pufta, so don't worry about that. I got just a few days ago at the school, actually in Yatsen, there's no point hiding that, where one of the students in class 4 asked the teacher and said, can you please explain that? I don't understand. And the teacher's response was, well, you must be daydreaming. He said, no, I'm not daydreaming. I actually don't understand. Please tell me, how do I do this? He said, well, we all know you're quite dumb, so there's no point explaining to you. This is the kind of sort of attitude that we do have that exists. I'm of course not saying all teachers are like that. There's some very, very good teachers. But these are the ones that kind of stick out. And we must, and you must, as those people who've been selected here today, ensure that this type of behavior actually gets curtailed, and provide your feedback to the people who will be developing the school curriculum vis-a-vis digital literacy. It's not all just about diabetes and health education. It's also about our social values, about how we interact with each other, how we respect each other, our ability to be able to see everybody else as a human being first. Everybody is a human being first, and then they are whatever they are. So I think as teachers and those people who will be putting in place new curriculum, etc., we need to understand that fundamental basis of equality. We need to be able to understand the fundamental value of respecting each other and, of course, our students. So, ladies and gentlemen, once again, I'd like to thank Reach for a Future Foundation for this collaboration, and also for the Minister. We look forward to support. It is a very exciting time. It is an opportunity that I think we should all grab. If we grab it with that sort of zeal that's required, with enthusiasm that's required, we'll be able to have we'll be in a much different space in Fiji in the education sector given another couple of years. Thank you very much, and I wish you a very good morning.